Money Vikings, welcome back to another episode of Money Vikings Health. A very special one for you today about ways that we can create our own blue zones. Okay, what is a blue zone, you're probably wondering, and why is it important to me? What can I do to have my own personal blue zone? And we'll get right into that. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you get a lot out of this. I hope this adds a lot of value to your life on your Money Viking True Wealth journey. That's our whole goal in the world, is to bring together the best ideas in investing, health, collectibles, family, and all that kind of stuff to live what we call a life of true wealth, which is a holistic look at wealth that is beyond a 401k or an investment account or owning some kind of thing. It's all important stuff, but we want to combine that with health, with healthy living, relationships, and more so that you can live a true wealth life. Okay, so let's get into it. The first thing is, what is a blue zone? I have this picture here from one of our blog posts because this is an example of a blue zone. It doesn't have to necessarily be by the water, but one of the most famous ones are Sardinia, which is an island off of Italy, which is a famous blue zone. There's also, I believe, an area in Japan, Okinawa, that is a blue zone. And there's also an area in California, which is known as a blue zone. What this means is that people in these areas have been studied for many years, and there's others around the world, but people in these areas have been studied for many years, and they tend to live very long lives. But not only do they live long lives, maybe well into their 90s or even hundreds, but the quality of their life throughout their life is very high. And this is really critical because it's one thing to live a long life, but if you're not living a life that is high quality, then you really have to wonder, if the last 10, 20, 30 years are riddled with health problems and complicated operations and procedures and medicines, well, that's not ideal. So let's study the people that have the ideal. And let's try to find out what it is that they're doing. And there are some common things. So we're going to go through a few of them. So my first question here is this a fantasy? The ability to live to, say, 100 and have a high quality of life most of the time. It doesn't seem to be a fantasy. It seems to be that it's possible. And like I said, there's areas in Sardinia, Okinawa, and California. There's other areas that are trying to adopt blue zone. Southern Oregon and others are trying to adopt blue zone habits. And I put in here the link. If you go to truewealth.moneyvikings.com, click on this article, you'll see some links to various ideas and more information on blue zones. But here's what I sort of took away from it. Maybe we can create our own personal blue zone, right? We can incorporate those habits. Maybe we don't live in a blue zone. Maybe we live in an area with high rates of health problems. But what can we personally do to create a blue zone within our house, within our own body, within our own mind? And there are ways. So the first one seems to be maintaining a balanced plant forward, is what they call it, diet. And so a lot of these diets, for example, the people in Sardinia are eating a wholesome plant-filled diet. I think there is some fish involved, but not every meal. The people in Japan are having a similar sort of diet. And the folks that they studied in California, I think, were part of a religious sect that basically advocated for a more vegetarian-based diet. I don't know if it's strict vegan or anything like that. There's probably maybe some cheese and egg and that kind of stuff, but apparently not a lot of meat are in these diets. So it says here, a nutritious and balanced diet is essential for healthy aging, focusing on consuming a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats, include foods rich in antioxidants such as berries and leafy greens, which help combat cellular damage caused by free radicals. And then the other thing is to know what to limit, right? We're trying to limit the ultra processed foods, the things that have been stripped of nutrients. They can sit in a package and on a shelf for just way too long. The stuff that's just pumped with sugar or the really unhealthy fats, I really try to avoid those now. The trans fats and the canola oil type things just don't sit well. And I do believe they lead to inflammation. So that's the number one thing, is it seems to be focusing on a plant-forward diet. So think of the words carefully. It doesn't mean that there isn't an occasional fish or maybe meat dish, but it's not an everyday occurrence. It's probably an every once in a while thing in these diets. engage in regular physical activity. What they were finding, so we kind of know that as basics. We really weren't evolved or built to sit as long as we do in the modern world. We evolved to move. And that was probably because of our hunter-gatherer ancestors, farming. All that took a lot of movement and activity of our bodies, raising children. So a lot of that took movement. And so what they found with these areas where the people were living so long is that they were quite active well into their life, throughout their whole lives, in fact. But keep in mind, they weren't going to a gym a lot of times. What it really was about was walking, gardening, swimming, biking, but activities. They were outside sort of doing things or working in their house, But again, not just sitting and watching a screen for, 10 hours or anything. They were out moving and doing things. That was the important thing. So regular exercise seems critical to this. I know I like to get my heart rate up a little bit each day if I can. I think that is good for the cardiovascular system. And remember, none of this is health advice. You've got to see your own primary care doctor. But that was a very common theme among the Blue Zone folks. Prioritizing sleep. That was the third thing that they found was very common among the Blue Zone folks. They did rest when they needed to, and there was a rhythm to that. So, there wasn't skimping on sleep. And sleep is being found more and more to be so critical to us being our best selves and having the greatest health we can. High quality sleep is very important. Managing stress, that's something we all probably need to work on a little bit, but a lot of it had to do with, in these Blue Zones, were the social connections. So the neighbors would get together and see each other. Friends and family would get together and see each other. That's something we really lose a lot of times in the United States. I've found in our culture, we can get into our homes with our screens and our phones. And I think that problem's gotten worse the last couple of years because of the pandemic. So I would encourage people to get out, become part of something, become part of something greater than you, become part of a community, find that community. I find though that there are so many opportunities for this. And that's one of the things I talk about with my collectibles videos that we do. One of the things that drew me to, like, for example, magic and comics was a sense of community. You came together with people that really enjoyed this art form and enjoyed the gameplay. And so, people don't realize that that's really healthy for them. And it's kind of tied to the other one, staying mentally and socially active. So again, exercising our brains, learning new things, trying to continue to push the boundaries of our knowledge, our thoughts, being socially engaged with other people seems to be really good for our health and a key aspect of the Blue Zone success story, really. So create your own Blue Zone. Let's spread the Blue Zones around the world. Let's make the entire world someday a Blue Zone. Wouldn't that be great? I added a bonus in here about supplements because I do like to look at different supplements. If we're not getting all of our nutrition from our food, ideally we'd be getting all of our nutrition from a very balanced diet where we're getting a variety of things every 7 to 10 days. So it doesn't mean that every day we have to get every nutrient is what they found. But it is important to get those nutrients over the course of probably a week or a week and a half. So, hey, really appreciate you watching. You all have a great time. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Build wealth one brick at a time. Practice a life of true wealth. Thanks a lot for joining, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.